Christian, it's so awesome to talk to you. Thank you for joining R2C2. You're someone who's been on our radar for a while that we wanted to get to chat with and get to know. So thank you for coming on, man.
You got it. Thanks for having me. Thought we could finally make it work. I know it was a little tough with the early spring training mornings and the long days, but we finally got here.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it.
We finally got here, and your squad is off to a great start this season. Mm-hmm. What has stood out to you most about this group? And maybe it's something that you felt in spring training, but just the results you guys have been getting early on in the year.
I think it's just a togetherness. Like everybody really, really likes each other. We really made a commitment to get to know each other as teammates and people throughout camp. It was one of Counsell's big things, and one of the messages to the team was, come together, get to know each other, have each other's back. And we just got a really good mix of veteran players and young players, and guys that have been around the league, guys that are going through it for their first time, bringing a lot of energy. And it's just a different person every night. It feels like we just find ways to win. We've got a lot of guys that have been on good teams in this league, playoff teams, and know what it takes to win every night. And we've just been finding a way. It's obviously still early and a really long way to go, but you prefer to get off to a good start than a bad start.
That you do. And you talk about guys who know how to win. Look, you guys have a team that has experience in winning baseball. And it's true. You know, last year was the first time since 2017 the Brewers don't go to the playoffs. What is it like? And you know, my co-host can speak to this as well with a smaller sample size, but a very impactful one. What is it like when you're good in Milwaukee and the feeling of playoff baseball in Milwaukee?
Hey, playoff games in Milwaukee are awesome. You know, it's a great crowd. It's a great crowd throughout the year, but especially at playoff time. If it's cold outside, the dome's all closed up and everybody's tailgating, and then when the game starts, everyone's going nuts. So for guys that haven't been here and haven't experienced that, you kind of tell them what it's like and what you're working towards throughout the year, just to get that opportunity to make the postseason, play in front of those postseason crowds, and hopefully take it to the finish line one of these years. But it's a great spot to play baseball, and hopefully it's another one of those playoff teams this year.
Yeah, when you don't know what the culture is in Milwaukee and you just show up there and like you don't understand how people tailgate before games, like it's a great fan base to be a part of. And when the team is good and it's good in the summer, the park is packed, and it's so much fun to be like. It's hard to describe, but you feel like you're a part of the city. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you feel like you're really in the community, a part of the community. So it's one of those cities that you really start to feel it in the summertime when you start playing well.
For sure. Well, once guys come here, they don't want to leave. Like I don't think they really know much about it till they get here. Maybe it's not one of their preferred destinations or landing spots, through trades or free agency. But whenever guys get here, they never want to leave. They always talk about how they want to stay. And like, I hope I'm back this year. Like, I don't want to go, and it's cool to be a part of, and I think a lot of that starts from counts and above. And, when you have good teams and good cultures, it starts from the top down, like good organizations and good teams. It starts from the top and it trickles down all the way through the clubhouse, and then, to the clubhouse staff and how people treat your families and everything like that. And it's a great spot to be. It's a great place to play. And I think you kind of see that on the field from the guys.
Yeah, for sure. I think it like you said, it starts at the top with the Antonaccio family. They're just great people, great owners, and in the organization, you can feel the love for sure.
Definitely.
See, I know. For you, you spent a couple months there, right? Mm-hmm. And yet it's a place that you always talk about so fondly. You have the logo tattooed on you.
It was the best 2 months of my baseball career, man. I'm telling you. And I say that all the time. And I got to play with some cool guys, got to play in some cool cities. But that 2 months I spent in Milwaukee with Prince Fielder and Ricky Weeks and Craig Counsell was basically our manager at the time. Like, it was so much fun, man. We had a blast for 3 months. And, it was somewhere I wish I could have went back to. It just didn't work out. But, it was the best 2.5, 3 months I had playing baseball in the big leagues.
Pretty cool. So you guys have that same touch point of Craig Counsell, your manager, Christian, and C, your teammate.
Yeah.
Start with you, Christian. What stands out to you about Counsell as a manager, knowing you've already referenced him multiple times as being part of what's attractive about playing for the Brewers?
Yeah, I think he understands people and players really well. Like, he knows how to handle everybody. He's a great leader where he's the same every day. Like, whether we've won 5 in a row, whether we've lost 5 in a row, he's not riding the roller coaster of like, oh, we're going to win the World Series, or we're never going to win again. Or like, everybody's kind of just, if you go on a little bit of a losing streak, there's no, like, everybody's like walking on eggshells, like this is the end of the world. He gets it. He played for so long in the big leagues that he knows that over the course of these 6 months, there's going to be hot stretches. There's going to be some stretches where it's a little bit more of a grind and the team's struggling. And you kind of just got to ride it out. And he does a good job communicating with the guys on when you're not going to play, when you're going to play, how you need to sacrifice sometimes for the greater good of the team. Everybody may or may not like their role at the time. But we're all trying to make the postseason. We're all trying to go deep in the postseason and hopefully win a championship. And what comes along with that is everybody pulling in the same direction, everybody having each other's back. And it starts with him. And I've really loved playing for him these last 6 years. And I hope he keeps going. I always tell him that he's got to keep going. We need you to come back. We need you to come back. But, I think CC will know, like, eventually there comes a time where the time commitment and everything that you need to sacrifice in your personal life is kind of what drives you kind of away from the game. It's not necessarily the game itself that kind of pushes guys away. I think it's more so the time commitment, the sacrifice, and all the things that these 7 months require out of you, that and things that you miss is kind of what kind of drags you from the game sometimes. But I hope he sticks around and is here for a few more years.
Yeah, I think you got a little bit of time with him because he is from Milwaukee and he's there, he lives there, so I think that helps out,
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, he's just one of those guys, Ruocco, that he's played in every role. Like he's been a starter. He had his time cut when I got there because Billy Hall was playing third base. But then when I got there, he started playing third base every day that I pitched. So he knows like how to talk to guys and get them prepared for the role because he dealt with every role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I was there and he was a player, he was the guy we went to for everything.
Really?
Him and Gabe Kapler. Yeah. I mean, we were in, Ned Yost was our manager, but it was kind of a weird thing where, we never really went to him for anything. You always went to Counsell, you went to Cap, and we kind of policed ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And if something bad happened, Counsell would get the ass. Like, he was a red ass. He would get pissed at guys. So, and it kept us in line. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it worked out, perfectly that it was Gabe Kapler, Mike Cameron, and Craig Counsell were basically we had 3 player managers on the team, and that's who kind of kept us straight.
That is awesome. First of all, it's an interesting situation for UC because you're a uniter and a connector in a clubhouse, but the fact that there was such a defined culture that you were a part of, like parachuting in the middle of the season, is interesting, right? Because I feel like if you don't have the leaders who you're mentioning, then maybe that's not the case if you're getting traded at the deadline.
Yeah, it would have been a tougher time for me for sure, just trying to figure everything out because outside of those 3, everybody else was young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it was Prince or Ricky or J.J. Hardy at the time, Corey Hart, those guys were young guys. Ryan Braun was a rookie. So, we needed that veteran leadership that we had to be able to kind of, mesh everything together, kind of like that Brewers team that they have now. Yeah.
Christian, is it abnormal to have that kind of closeness with your manager? Like, in your big league experience, does it, for you to be like, hey, you can't go anywhere, I need you to stay, like, how unique is it having a manager that you not only feel that way about, but feel comfortable expressing that to?
Yeah, the culture here it's a really professional place. Like, everybody, you have a lot of freedom to be yourself, but there's also this like understanding of like, hey, like this is serious. Like when the game starts, it's business time. Like you get the job done. You know how to win a game. You don't make mistakes. You stay locked in. But at the same time, it's a fun culture. Like guys are themselves. Guys are brought here to be themselves. Like, they don't want you to be anything other than what you are. Like, you don't want to trying to conform guys into something that they're not, and when guys can be themselves, that's when you get the best out of them and the most out of them. As long as it's within the confines of the team and winning a game that night and winning games during the season. And I think it starts with Counts, where he allows guys to have that freedom. But it's also understood that like that freedom comes with the responsibility to do your job and to do your job well and be prepared. Otherwise, it kind of gets reined back in. But he's been great, and guys love playing for him. And like CC said, he's been in all kinds of different roles, so he understands everything all the guys are going through. He's played really well. He's won 2 World Series. He's struggled. He's gone through long offers. So he knows what it's like, and he knows what guys are going through, and talks to them, and guys feel relaxed and feel like they can be themselves, and it translates to really good on-field play.
Christian, you start your career with Miami, and you have who I think was still considered Florida when you started with them, right? Had they hadn't made the transition yet to the Miami Marlins, had they?
I got drafted by the Florida Marlins, and then they were the Miami Marlins like a year before I got to the big leagues. So
got it.
13 was my first year in the big leagues, and I think 2012 was the first time that they were the Miami Marlins.
Jeez, they've been Miami for over a decade.
That's crazy that we don't know that. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. It feels like it's been just
2 weeks.
A few years. Yeah, gosh. Life, gentlemen. Where's it go? I don't know. So, Christian, you come up and look, right away, you hit for average. You win a Gold Glove your second year. And then you tweak some things mechanically, and you become this profound power hitter as well. What did you do with your swing there early in your career to go from, hey, really good hitter, really hitting for average, to the production we ended up seeing where, you're 21 homers, and 98 ribbies, you're 18 homers, then you're 36, you're 44, you're obviously winning the MVP, finishing second. I know you, like in the past, I've heard you talk about hitting mechanics, and it seems like you're just super in tune with it, and it's interesting. What did you do then with your swing that allowed for that power surge?
I think it was just this natural progression of just playing a lot of games, and then understanding yourself as a player and a hitter as you went along. Like, I think, when young players come up and stuff, everybody wants them to be able to do everything right away. Like their rookie year, their second year in the league, and it doesn't always work out like that. Like, you have a few guys that come up and they're stars right away, and they can do everything. Your Trouts, your Acuñas, those guys where they're just like the complete package right away. And then other guys, it takes them some time to kind of learn themselves, or learn balls they can drive, or how their swing works, or getting around the right coaches and people to help them understand like how this whole thing works. And then as a major league player, you're constantly making adjustments and trying to get better, and you have to be able to survive in the league. Like, you can't just do the same thing you've always done and think you're going to have success for a prolonged period in this league, because it's just not how it works. It's a game of adjustments. The pitchers adjust, then the hitters adjust, then you get scouting reports on you, and then you have to be able to change. Otherwise, you can't last. And so for me, I was just always working to try and better myself and take that next step. And I kind of always knew that was in there. I just couldn't really reach it all the time when I was in Miami, where in batting practice stuff, I could hit for power in batting practice, or there'd be stretches or weeks where I could do it, but it wasn't something that showed up consistently.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of working. And 2018 was playing around in the cage and in batting practice, and felt like something felt really good. And I was like, we were facing Rich Hill that night, who, if you're a left-handed hitter, you're going to see sidearm over the top, sidearm curveballs over the top curveballs. So I was like, you know what, like, screw it. I'm gonna go out and try this during the game. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Rich is tough on lefties because you get so many funky arm angles and different kind of pitches. So I was like, let's just go out there and have fun with it, see what happens. And had some success that game and kind of just built on it throughout the second half of 2018, carried it in the 19. And, we'd love if some of that stuff started to show up again here in 23 for the Brewers.
Yeah. What was it? It was like when you're sitting in the cage, Christian, that day before you're facing Rich Hill, what was it that you were feeling or doing where you're all of a sudden like, yeah, all right, like I'm going to try this? Like, was it anything drastic mechanically?
It was just some timing stuff, honestly, just playing around with, a lot of it was a little bit of a thought process, but a lot of it was kind of just timing and seeing what could happen. And it kind of happened by trying to get loose in the cage, just like messing around for like 10, 15 swings. I'm like, let me just see how this feels. Like told the hitting coach, like, don't say nothing. Like, I'm just getting loose. Don't freak out. Like, don't freak out. Cause it was the first day back from the All-Star break. I just played in the All-Star game and was coming back and just trying to change some things and tinker with it, which is that's probably a terrible idea. Like, you just in the All-Star, stop trying to change something at the end of July, and I was like, I'm just going to try it, see what happens. And it ended up kind of just rolling into what it became the rest of that year, which is pretty cool. And, I kind of tell guys, like, guys are what they are until they make an adjustment or something clicks for them and they can change their career and what they are as a player. And that's why you always keep grinding. And even when it seems like, things aren't going your way or you're kind of struggling, you're literally one adjustment or one thing away from becoming a different player. And it's both sides of the ball, pitchers, hitters. Guys find a new pitch as a pitcher and it changes their entire career. So I think as long as you're constantly working, you're trying to better yourself, I think you always have a chance. And, sometimes the light bulb goes on and sometimes it doesn't.
That's so true compared to the other sports too, is where if you keep working, you keep learning, you keep, evolving and getting better. I mean, you have to, but in other sports, you can kind of just keep doing the same thing, have the same routine, whatever, over and over. But in baseball, you have to make adjustments and, especially as you get older, you know what I mean? Like just tinkering with little things to make yourself be ready to play or, get an edge. This game is full of that.
Yeah. And it's such a hard game too. Like there's so much failure involved in it. And it's so frustrating at times where, you'll leave the stadium that night and you're like, man, this sucks. Like this is like, I'm so lost. And then by the time you come back to the field the next day, you've talked yourself into like, oh, it's going to be great. Like I'm gonna find this again. And then it's just like this whole process throughout a baseball season of, like, I'm lost. This sucks. And then the next day you come back and talk yourself into like, oh, it's going to be successful again. Like that's that mind game that you got to play with yourself in baseball. Like, all right, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. You just have to keep working towards it, and eventually, and hopefully, like it clicks again, and you can keep going. But it's a game of adjustments, and you can't let the failure of the game kind of beat you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Christian, that's such an awesome way of putting it and sharing perspective. And you talked about how you're trying to find it now. I mean, and your journey is so interesting, right? Because you're one type of hitter, first few years having success. Then all of a sudden, you start hitting for crazy power. You win an MVP, you runner up the next year. And obviously, you dealt with injuries, and now you're trying to find it again. And I mean, let's also not overstate it. You were still a productive hitter over the last couple of seasons. It's just not at the same level that you have been a few seasons prior. What has been your key? Who has been your rock? Or what has been your process as you try and navigate the mental hurdles of what I can only imagine you're dealing with, going from, all right, I'm producing at an MVP level, to, oh, okay, like how do I get back to that? Can I get back to that? Where can I settle here? I mean, how difficult is that process, and who helps you through it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough for sure. I mean, there's a lot of, it's been definitely a mental grind the last few years of just trying to deal with the frustration. And, I know it's still in there. Like, I know I can still do that. There's obviously been some adversity and battling through some things, but that's just kind of how it goes when you're a professional athlete. Like, you got to deal with some stuff. You're going to face adversity, and you got to keep finding it. And I think you just lean on teammates and coaches and people that you're around every day that kind of understand the grind and how this whole thing works. When you're in it, you understand like how this game is and how hard it is and the ups and downs of it. And you just keep going and, being around good teammates, good coaches, good people. I mean, that's really all you can ask for. And you do your best to prepare every night. You try to give yourself the best chance possible to succeed, to help the team. And if it doesn't work out that day, then it's kind of just back to the drawing board. But you can't give in, no matter how frustrating it's been. It's been very frustrating at times for sure. And it's been a grind, but that's part of the game and part of what you got to deal with as being a Major League Baseball player. And like we talked about earlier, you never stop working, and it can turn in a second.
Nah, it's for sure leaning on teammates. I feel like, I had 2.5 years where I was like lost, didn't know what the fuck was going on, and during that time, that's when me and Brian McCann got really close. I felt bad for him because he would try to go out and game plan and put all these game plans together and shit that I couldn't execute. You know what I'm saying? Like, I call him now and I'll be like, Mac, I'm so sorry for like 13, 14, and 15, bro. I had nothing for you, but that's how we got close. It's just like trying to talk through everything and trying to figure out, do I need to get on this side of the rubber? Do I need to start throwing my two-seamer, back door or all these little different things I tried during that time when it eventually clicked again. And I figured out I got to throw the cutter and change up and all of the backdoor slider, all of this stuff. I had everything that I had tried for the last 2.5 years, I still had in my bag. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of helped me the last 3 or 4 years of my career, being able to go through that tough time that I did for those 2.5 years, trying to figure out shit because I picked up a few extra pitches that I probably wouldn't have if I just had prolonged success. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, see. And it's funny, I wasn't even thinking of you as an example of that, but you're right. You went from Cy Young, dominance year after year after year to, 3 seasons where it was at the end of 15 where you finally like, oh, okay, we see something again. And then success in, 3 more or 4 more subsequent seasons after that. But like at that time, right, see, like I know from afar, I'm sure most of the thought process was like, oh, okay, is that it? Is that the story on CC Sabathia? And you found a way to make it not that.
Yeah, but you have to. But like Yeli said, just leaning on teammates and whoever I can. I was calling Andy, I was calling Mo, whoever I could, to try to figure out how I'm get past not throwing 98 anymore, figure out how to pitch. And have to figure that shit out in the big leagues is really fucking hard. Like, it's hard to play. It's hard to fucking play baseball in the big leagues. And when you searching for some shit, it can make it miserable. It can make it miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's when you're going out there with not your best, like I feel like when you're at your best, like that kind of gives you the ability to just compete in the major leagues. Like when you're searching for it, it makes playing in the major leagues like really, really, really hard. It's already hard, but when you're like kind of searching for it, you're like, I don't know, man. Like this shit don't feel right. It makes it exponentially harder. Like when you're humming and you got everything like where you want it to be, like that kind of just gives you the ability and the right just to go out there and compete and have a chance. Like that doesn't even guarantee success. Like you still got to go out there and execute when you've got everything going for you. Mm-hmm. So when you're kind of searching for it, it makes it harder. But that's kind of when you just lean on your competitiveness and just kind of will it to happen if you can. And then if it doesn't work out. But it's funny you say that.
Nah, A-Rod was the funniest when he wasn't going good because he would come back in the dugout. He was, I'm fighting for my life out there. Like he would be screaming like random stuff. Like, you don't know what to do, man. It's so hard. It's crazy.
I'm fighting for my life.
Fighting for my life out there.
Oh, that's tremendous. That is great. Christian, how about just this is the last sort of thing, sort of related to this process, but I know you talked about this offseason wanting to kind of revitalize yourself by unplugging. Mm-hmm. And what did that entail, and how did you kind of feel like that went as you got ready for this year?
Yeah, I think so many times as players, like you play the whole season, right? You have spring training, then you play the whole season, right? And then after the season ends, you take like 2 or 3 weeks off, and then it's like right back to getting ready for the next season. Yeah. And like you never have this time to like just live your life and enjoy it and enjoy the downtime. And obviously you're still preparing and keeping yourself in shape and working towards the next season. But for me, it was more so just like get away from it all and like this grind and just like mentally being like locked in for it all the time. Like enjoy life, enjoy these 4 months where you have the opportunity to do whatever you want. Like, cause once baseball season starts, like you're doing baseball every day for 7 months. So, like you don't have it. Right. You don't have a choice whether you want to do it or not. Like,
right.
And that's fine. Like that's your job. That's what you sign up for. And that's what it requires. But I think when you have a time to get away from it or kind of live life or do some different things, it allows you to be better at baseball sometimes because you recharge, you refresh, you have the ability to kind of give 100% once you come back to baseball because you've kind of done whatever it is that you wanted to do. You got away from it, you got refreshed. And that was one of my goals going into the off season. And, did some traveling, did some hanging out and just kind of had a really nice 3-4 months and felt recharged and ready to go for the year.
Where was your favorite place you traveled?
I think Deer Valley, like Park City, Utah.
Nice. Oh, nice.
Went up there in December and kind of just like went into the mountains for a little while and just got away. And it was really cool, like really peaceful place and just like beautiful scenery. And it was really nice. And it's kind of just that was one of my favorite things I did in the off season. And, you come back from all that stuff just like rejuvenated and like, all right, like I'm ready to dive back into this grind and ready to get going and give what it requires to be successful. Like you can't go into a baseball season like half in, half out. Like you need to be all the way in if you're gonna be successful, and that kind of requires a certain amount of mental energy and attention. And if you're not willing to meet it head on like that, then it's not going to go well for you. So you need to get yourself in a place in the off season to where you're ready for the 7-month grind that's ahead of you. And that was my goal. And I think succeeded in doing it.
That's awesome.
That was always my goal in the off season was to try to unplug, but you never really truly always can.
Right.
But I always like love the off season because and guys just get mad at me because you get to pick your friends. Like when you're on a baseball team, because you got to hang out with the motherfuckers on the team. In the off season, you get to hang out with who you want to hang out with. So it's less stress in that too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like just seeing people who you want to see every day as opposed to motherfuckers you have to see every day. Like it's a big difference in that. So especially when you're like, one of the guys in the clubhouse, like Yeli is, like guys are coming to him all the time with different stuff. So to be able to not have that, for a couple months, I think is a big thing too.
Yeah, valuable to be able to get away from that. Christian, this is just a couple of random things, but I was just thinking as someone because we were talking about how you're in Seattle as we record this and the atmosphere there. I know it's one of CMI's favorite road cities. And now, of course, you guys are getting a different experience with the way the schedule has changed and the expanded opponents for you guys. But if I was going to say, okay, can't be in Milwaukee, your favorite road meal on the MLB circuit, do you have one? I don't know if you're a foodie or not. Doesn't matter. Everybody has to eat food. What is what is like, if there's one thing that you're like, I just want a big game. I'm getting a post-game dinner. It can be in any city that we play in. I want it to be this at this place.
That's a tough one. Just to pick one.
I know. It is tough. I have so many too.
Probably either. I can't just pick one, but I'm
okay. Throw a couple.
Same kind of food though. It's the same. It's an Italian place. Either RPM Italian in Chicago or Carbone in New York or Miami. One of those places. I think they're tough to beat. There's some that might come close, but I think those ones. If you go to any one of those places, you're not going to leave disappointed by any means.
No. Love that.
You get atmosphere and food at all those places. Yeah, it's true. I mean, one thing that's great. C has been there. You've been to the Crown Club now, right? C at Barclays. Yeah, at Barclays Center where the Nets play. So the owners of Carbone did this thing called Crown Club. And it's like, it's all Carbone's food in there, and it's
Really?
a club that's open after the game. The whole idea, Joe Tsai's whole idea was like, after you get done with the game, it's late, you want to have dinner if this is kind of part of your life, and places aren't open. And so like, we're going to stay open, and people actually like own the tables inside there for the whole season. And like, they can like rent them out to people or whatever, but it's awesome. So you don't pay for any of the food. It's all, yeah.
So part of the course, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is an awesome experience. All right. How about the nastiest pitcher that you've ever faced?
Nastiest guy. I don't know. I feel like these days, literally everybody that you face.
Oh my gosh, I know, man. Everybody's stuff is.
There's nobody that you face. You're like, oh yeah, this is for sure like 2-3 hits tonight.
Yeah.
Like, you got locked in. I think like Kershaw back a few years, like 13, 14 Kershaw. Like I faced him my rookie year, and I got dominated pretty good. Like I had like a week in the major leagues at the time. And we were playing the Dodgers in Miami, and it was 2013. And I think that might have been him. I think he might have won the Cy Young that year. Or he was about to, or something like that. But he had it going on. It was 95, 96 with that slider that basically you just couldn't see. It was just disappeared. And I went into that the night before. I knew we were facing them. I'd been in the league for like a week. I was like, "There's no chance that they let me face this guy," which was my first mistake. So you come to the stadium the next day, and there I was, lead off. First off.
That's great.
And my first at bat, leading off, he walked me on 4 pitches. Actually, like 4 pitches. Dropped an F-bomb. This isn't so bad, And I didn't foul ball off the rest of the day. Punched out 3 times, swung over that slider and curveball a bunch of times. And I was like, all right, well, this is like welcome to the big leagues. Like here it is, So I think that I always remember that story of just like, oh, this isn't terrible. Like. Saw those all right, like blocked on like 4 fastballs, he just couldn't early in the game and did it, and then obviously he did. Yeah, it was pretty impressive and something that I always remember.
That's funny. I'm seeing that pretty good for sure.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Christian, if you are a young player is coming to you and they're giving you just sort of a blank canvas, and they're saying, hey, if there's 1 or 2 keys that I need to always keep in mind to have success in the big leagues, what would those be for you?
I would think learn how to deal with failure, and that's different for everybody, guys. Everyone deals with that in a different way, but you need to learn how to deal with it and to adapt, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen to you in your career. It might happen to you your rookie year, your first month in the league. It might happen to you years down the road, but it's going to happen. And you're going to need to be able to find a way to deal with it. And I think young players, when they first come up, like your biggest fear is getting sent back down to the minor leagues. Like you just don't want to go back, because everything in the major leagues is so much better. It's what you've been working for your entire life, is to get to the big league. So once you finally get there, you obviously really want to stay. And the worst case scenario for you when you're a young player is to get sent down. And sometimes it's unavoidable because it's just how the options work. And like, hey, you're the guy with options, you're getting sent down. Like, sorry. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes you just don't play well enough the first time, and you need to take what you learned in the big leagues and what you struggled with, and you kind of work on it, and you can kind of come back and be a very successful major league player. But for me, my thing was like, I never wanted to get sent back down. And like, when you're struggling, it's always in the back of your mind, whether you admit it or not, when you're a young player, like, damn, like, I don't want to get sent out. I don't want to go back to AAA or AA or wherever you may go. But worrying about that is not going to do you any good. It's like, it's you got to accept it as a possible option and kind of just focus on what you need to do to stay there and learn how to deal with the ups and downs of being a major league player. Find some good veteran players to lean on and kind of guide you through it. And I think that's the biggest thing. And the next biggest thing is never stop working. You always need to continue to try and get better and make adjustments and If you're doing really well, like, don't let it get to your head. You're not on the top of the world. Like, just keep your head down, stay underwater, focus on what you need to do to be successful to help the team. And you'll be all right after that. It's always stay humble. And if you don't, this game's going to humble you very quickly. And if you do those two things, I think the rest takes care of itself. And if you're talented enough to stick around for a really long time, you're going to, as long as you have those two things in mind, and be a good teammate. And I think those are really the 2-3 things I would tell anybody that came to me and asked, like, hey, what's it take to play a really long time in Major Leagues?
Mm-hmm. Great advice, Christian.
Great.
I love that, man. I love that. Before we let you go, we have got to ask you about your home plate charity event. I know C is so passionate about the philanthropic work he does, and we love seeing how passionate guys are in the ways that they impact the communities around them. So tell us about your event in May at the Milwaukee Athletic Club and the significance of it for you.
Yeah, so it's our first one. Obviously wanted to do it a few years prior, actually, but COVID and all that stuff kind of got in the way. So we're finally getting to do it. Basically, it's just revitalizing fields in Milwaukee, giving kids a chance to have some nice facilities to be able to play baseball. Katina and Cecilia with the Brewers Community Foundation are awesome, and talking about doing this indoor bubble as well. So obviously it's really cold in Milwaukee in the fall and the winter. So to give kids a place to go to where they can play baseball indoors and be able to do that year round when they're not able to use the fields that are being refurbished is a goal. And I think it's going to be a good first event and something that we're excited about. Just people around Milwaukee giving back. Obviously they give us so much. So we're excited to get it going here, and it's in about a month, and hopefully we can see a bunch of people come out and get back to the community.
And if people want to get involved, they can go to yelichhomeplate.com, right?
Yeah, and all my social media and stuff, there's a link to it in the bio, and it's gonna be a good time. So we're excited to get it going and get back to the community, and something that I'm pretty passionate about. Obviously, playing in Milwaukee the last 5-6 years, and how great of a place it's been.
Awesome. So that's Thursday, May 11th from 6 to 11 p.m. at the Milwaukee Athletic Club, Christian Yelich's home plate charity event. Go to yelichhomeplate.com or check out Christian's different social media channels to find out more. Christian, thank you so much for the time, man. This is fantastic. We love talking to you. Excited for your charity event, and good luck the rest of the way, man. We'll be watching.
Yeah, you got it, guys. Thanks for having me. Glad we could finally do it. Looking forward to seeing you both down the road somewhere at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Good luck, bro.
You got it. Thank you, guys.